Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Bernhard H. Meyer Powermaster First Blue. This watch is available from bernhardhmeyer.com for $2,140 which equates to €1,770. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with a piece. So the watch box is protected in shipping by this black cardboard outer box, and as you can see on the lid it has Bernhard H. Meyer, the brand emblem, and Depuis 1871. Depuis is French for since 1871, and that is indeed true. The brand is 150 years old this year. So one removes the lid, pulls down the flap, and this is the watch box itself. Now this is a pleasant surprise. Solid wooden watch box, which is what one would expect with a mid-tier piece costing €1,770. Nicely executed. I like the high gloss piano lacquer finish to it, and also like the use of the silver Bernhard H. Meyer brand emblem and logo, which is underneath the lacquer. Nice presentation, good quality, attention to detail. The watch itself sits on a padded pillow cushion as one would expect, so it's a good quality watch box and I like it. With regards to the other items one gets with a piece, this is the quick SOS guide. So if you immediately want to wear the watch as soon as you take it out of the watch box, this quick SOS guide gives you the setup details of how to immediately set the time and date complication on your watch to get it running. One also gets this leaflet which has 150 years, and as I've discussed, the Bernhard H. Meyer brand is now 150 years old in 2021. So I'll give you a quick insight into the brand's history. Meyer Mint was founded 150 years ago, and they started off producing dies. Dies are tooling for the production of the minting of coins and also medals such as Olympic medals. So they then moved on from being Meyer Mint onto engraving pocket watch cases, and from engraving pocket watch cases they then moved on to found Bernhard H. Meyer, which is a Swiss watch brand. So the brand is 150 years old, and it's moved through those three cycles from minting coins and medals through to engraving pocket watches, and most recently producing watches such as this Powermaster First Blue. With a watch one also gets this envelope, and inside the envelope is a branded microfiber polishing cloth, as you can see. So it's always a nice touch to get a branded microfiber polishing cloth irrespective of the price point of a piece. And very importantly, one gets this certificate of authenticity. Now this Powermaster First Blue is a limited edition piece of only 990 pieces. So on the reverse it's stamped by Meyers Mint GmbH in Pforzheim in Germany, and they also have a branch in Biel in Switzerland, which is where the watch is produced. So it's good to see that Meyers Mint is actually still connected to the Bernhard H. Meyer brand, and as I've discussed, they were originally known as Meyers Mint because they produced the tooling, the dies for minting Olympic medals and also coins. So inside it details that this is number 697 of a limited edition of 999 pieces. So it's a limited production run of the Powermaster First Blue. And lastly, one also gets this very comprehensive user's manual. Multilingual, translated into multiple foreign languages, has very clear and concise instructions, diagrams, and it really is a very useful read if you're unfamiliar with the movement used in the piece, which is the Sellita SW200-1 automatic. So it's a good, well written, well crafted user's manual, and I think it's very thorough. So with regards to the specification of the piece itself, this is the Powermaster First Blue, and it has a 45mm case diameter. It has a 54.2mm lug-to-lug measurement, and it has a thickness of 12.8mm. The lug width is 20mm with the exterior measurement of the rubber strap. As you can see, the strap is integrated to the case. So the first thing I'm going to say is at 45mm this is a large piece, and it does wear with great wrist presence as a result. So if you're a collector with a 6 to 7 inch wrist, you will find the 45mm case too large. I would say that this really is a piece for collectors with a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches because of that 45mm case diameter and the wrist presence. The other thing to note is the 54.2mm lug-to-lug measurement is relatively long. As you'll know from my previous reviews, I consider 48mm to be the sweet spot for all wrist sizes. So regardless of whether you're a collector with a smaller 6 to 7 inch wrist or a collector with a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches, 48mm will fit you comfortably. But at 54.2, this is a rather long case, and really again it is only suitable for collectors with a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches. Now it is 12.8mm, and that is quite low profile, bearing in mind it's a 45mm case. Really, I regard dive pieces to be under 13mm as being very good in terms of their thickness, in terms of comfort, and also being easily able to slip underneath a business shirt if you wear them as a daily wear piece. Now, the 20mm integrated strap, I personally think it would have been better balanced and better proportioned if they'd put it on a 22mm rubber strap rather than 20. The 20mm strap and lug width does seem undersized for that large 45mm case. With regards to heft, it is 146 grams. So that's a pleasant surprise. At 45mm, I was expecting this to weigh in excess of 150 grams, which is what a 40 to 42mm dive piece would weigh on a oyster-style stainless steel bracelet, for example. So they've made the correct decision by putting it on the rubber strap with a deployant clasp, because that does reduce the weight. If this was on a bracelet, it would weigh in excess of 200 grams, which would be too heavy. So it is a hefty piece at 146 grams, but it is comfortable, bearing in mind it is a large 45mm case. With regards to the rest of the specification, it has a solid stainless steel bezel, which is made from 316L grade stainless steel, ceramic bezel insert, and the applied indices and the baton style hands, which are partially skeletonized, do complement each other. I like the sighting of the date complication at 6. It retains the symmetry of the applied indices, and also there is a contrasting red second hand, which does add interest to it. Credit where credit's due, they have done a very good job of matching the navy blue tone of the ceramic bezel insert with the navy blue dial, which is matte, and the AR coating on the underside of the flat sapphire crystal does an excellent job in reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the applied indices and those skeletonized baton hands. So very well thought through, excellent design, and I also like the attention to detail, such as the applied silver Bernhard H. Mayer brand emblem at 12 o'clock. It's a very clean dial which isn't over branded with text or specification. So nice looking, aesthetically pleasing. With regards to the case finishing, it is done to a very high standard. Vertical satin brush finishing to the flanks, and we also have large mirror polished bevels to the top of the case, which mark the transition between the lugs and the flanks. They've done a very good job of brushing and also mirror polishing the bevels, the chamfers, and also the flanks to a flawless finish. So it's a very nicely finished case, and no criticisms whatsoever with regards to the finishing. The brush satin finishing to the scallops of the 120 click unidirectional bezel are also done to a high standard. Very tactile, very grippy bezel, and it's an absolute pleasure to look at. Solid stainless steel crown, knurled finish, and it is signed with the Bernhard H. Mayer brand emblem. Silky smooth to operate. It's got nice firm resistance with the threading. It's the kind of characteristic resistance one expects with the Sellita SW200-1 automatic movement. Nice characteristic pop when one unscrews the crown from the crown tube. Absolute pleasure to manually wind it and feel the tension in the mainspring gradually build up to wind it to its maximum 40-hour power reserve. So it has hand winding and hacking, which are useful complications, and it's nice to screw down the crown. It's got a smooth thread, although one can feel the resistance in it, but that's a characteristic of the SW200-1, and it works very well. So well executed crown, well finished, good quality, build quality and quality control. But however, minor criticism, this piece is rated to 10 ATM, which equates to 100 meters of water resistance. And bearing in mind that this is a mid-tier price point piece costing €1,770, really I think the minimum it should have is 200 meters. I'm confident with two O-rings on the crown tube and the internal stainless steel crown. Really, it should be able to provide an effective hermetic seal to 200 meters rather than 100 meters. We're not looking at a Seiko Seiko 5KX, which has a push-pull crown, and that only has 100 meters of water resistance as a result. With screw down crowns, they really should be able to provide 200 meters or 20 ATM of water resistance. So that's a disappointment in the specification to see that Bernhard H. Meyer have only rated the water resistance as 10 ATM, which is 100 meters. But however, it does have a very well executed screw down exhibition caseback, which is glazed with mineral crystal. Brush concentric finishing to the solid stainless steel exhibition caseback, and the centre section is nicely executed with mineral crystal. It's very aesthetically pleasing, and again, I'm confident that this design with a rubber O-ring would withstand 200 meters of water resistance. It should provide that level of hermetic seal. So it's surprising that they've only rated the caseback and the crown to 10 ATM. It really should be 20 ATM or 200 meters, because I really think that this would withstand 200 meters of water resistance. Now the SW200-1 is undecorated, but they've done a nice job of engraving, a laser engraving of Bernhard H. Meyer on the rotor, which does add some interest, and it is nice to look at the SW200-1 through the exhibition caseback. Now with regards to the rubber strap, which is integrated, very good quality vulcanized rubber strap, and I'm pleased to see them use vulcanized rubber rather than the more cost-cutting option, which is silicone rubber. It's nicely embossed, as you can see, with the Bernhard H. Meyer emblem, and it's got a stiff resistance, but it's thick, it's tapered up to the lugs, and I think it's going to be a very durable strap. It is going to take some breaking in because vulcanized rubber by nature is quite stiff. It's stiffer than silicone, but therefore it's more durable. And it's very nicely finished. As you can see, it also has a solid stainless steel buckle and deployant clasp, and the buckle is signed with the Bernhard H. Meyer brand emblem. 2-button push deployant clasp, and it does work very well. And I really like the quality of the finishing to the interior of the 2-button push deployant clasp. As you can see, there is very nicely executed pelage finishing on the inside of the 2-button push. Good firm resistance to the springs of the 2 triggers on the deployant, and I think that they have done a very good job. The deployant clasp was of course first invented by Cartier and subsequently used by many other watch brands, and I think it's a credible choice to using a buckle and tang, which would have been a less expensive option. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, one thing I like about this is, unlike many watches that I review, it does actually fit my 8-inch wrist with no difficulty whatsoever. Good positive click to the first half of the deployant, and good second click to the second half of the deployant. Plenty of length on this rubber strap, as you can see, and I'm pleased to report that I can indeed engage both of the sliding keepers. So just bear with me and I'll do that to demonstrate it for you. And this is something that I often find with dive pieces, even this 45mm for example, which is a large piece. The watch brands make the straps a fraction too short, but as you can see, this one does actually fit my 8-inch wrist. There is enough length on the end of the strap to fully engage the 2 sliding keepers. So it's a credit to Bernhard H. Meyer that they have made this 45mm piece to suit collectors with a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches, such as myself. So the strap does work very well. Now, it may surprise you because this is a large piece at 45mm case diameter, and it does have some heft at 146 grams. It's actually a very comfortable piece to wear on the rubber strap. Long lug to lug measurement of 54.2 as I've discussed, but however, the benefit of having it on a 20mm strap rather than a 22 is it does mean it's very comfortable. It feels very lightweight and comfortable on that vulcanized rubber integrated strap. It's low profile at under 13mm. 12.8mm with a flat sapphire crystal and no Cyclops magnifier means it's a large, wide case, but it's also very low profile. So yes, it will easily fit underneath a shirt cuff of a business shirt, and therefore it would be comfortable to wear for long periods of time. The only proviso being that you are a collector with a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches to make the 45mm by 54.2mm case comfortable on wrist. Very aesthetically pleasing. The silver applied indices and skeletonized baton hands do work very well, and the AR coating is performing very well on the underside of the crystal. I like the navy blue ceramic bezel, which complements the navy blue matte dial. Colour match is very good, and also the angular case shape with the large mirror polished bevels work very well. And also the center section of the integrated case, as you can see, has a mirror polish section, which does add interest to it. So it's a well finished piece, it looks good, and it's also very comfortable. The feel good factor is excellent. 2-button push trigger action of the deployant works very well. As you can see, it opens up, no problem whatsoever. The 2 halves of the deployant open with no resistance. So the quality is there, the build's quality, the quality control, and also the finishing is also done to a high standard. So let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to its absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to its absolute peak performance. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. It's C3 superluminova and it's glowing very brightly on both the skeletonized baton hands and also the applied indices. This is what top quality superluminova looks like. Personally, C3 is one of my personal favourites because I like the green tone of it. It reminds me of tritium Lume, which is now obsolete. And they've done an excellent job because the applied indices don't allow for great plots of Lume, but however they have lumed them with several layers, as one can see, because the baton hands and also the applied indices are glowing brightly, and they're also continuing to glow for a good length of time. So top quality Lume, they haven't cut any corners with regards to the specification, and that's very reassuring. Now, with regards to the movement used, it uses the Sellita SW200-1, which is an automatic. It's 26 joules, 28,800 vibrations per hour, and a frequency of 4 Hz. It has hand binding and hacking complications, date complication at 6. Now, the stated accuracy of the SW200-1 varies depending on the grade. There are 4 grades of SW200-1. Standard, Elabor grade, top grade and chronometer grade respectively. This SW200-1 is the standard grade, and what that means is it's regulated in 2 positions. If it were a Elabor grade, it would be regulated in 3 positions, and if it were top grade or chronometer grade, it would be regulated in 6 positions. So, standard grade is the lowest grade of SW200-1. Now, the regulation of the SW200-1 in terms of accuracy is stated as plus or minus 12 seconds to plus or minus 30 seconds per day, so a wide range of accuracy. However, I'm pleased to report that this one has been regulated to plus 8 seconds per day, which is perfectly acceptable for a standard grade of SW200-1. Now, with regards to the specification, personally at this price point, €1,770 or 2,140 US, I would prefer to see a top grade or chronometer grade SW200-1 used. I would prefer to see 6 positions of regulation, and I would prefer to see COSC chronometer certification to back up the accuracy of it being top grade or chronometer grade. Really, to use a standard grade of SW200-1 at €1,770 is unacceptable. I want you to put this into perspective. The SW200-1 is a reliable, well-proven, solid workhorse movement used by many brands, and it's well proven. But, for example, one can get an SW200-1 which is a Elabor grade in a Steinhardt Ocean 1 that only costs €455. Yes, it is acceptable at €455 to use an Elabor grade, but this is only standard grade and it's significantly more expensive. It's €1,770. So for that price point, it really needs to be COSC certified and it needs to be chronometer grade. Alternatively, I would like to see them use a higher grade of Sellita movement, such as the SW300-1, or alternatively the ETA 2892A2. So the SW200-1 and the ETA 2892A2 are higher grades of movement. They're the kind of movement one would expect to see in a €1,770 price point piece. So lastly, I'll surmise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, to make up my mind, we need to check the bezel action. So nice crisp bezel action, 120 click unidirectional bezel, no lateral side to side play, and no back play whatsoever. In terms of resistance to the 120 clicks, it feels very similar to a Steinhardt Ocean 1. It's got that firm, crisp resistance, and it's very reassuring because there's no back play. It's a nice tight bezel action, which I personally prefer. Now, the alignment is perfect. There's no problem whatsoever with the alignment of the triangle on the bezel insert and the 12 o'clock index, so that's very reassuring. Build quality, quality control is there. However, there is one negative. The triangle on this ceramic bezel insert isn't lumed. There's no lume pip, and the triangle itself is not lumed. Really, that's a disappointment. The 100 meters water resistance and also the lack of a lumed triangle on the ceramic bezel insert are clear cost-cutting measures. It should be 200 meters of water resistance, as I've discussed, and it should definitely have a lumed pip or alternatively lumed triangle to the ceramic bezel insert. These kind of cost-cutting measures are wholly unacceptable when one is looking at a mid-tier piece costing €1,770. And as I've discussed, the other cost-cutting measure is the use of a standard grade SW200-1 rather than the more expensive option, which is the SW300-1. So I'm going to declare it okay in terms of value. There is room for improvement. In terms of quality, I would say the quality is good. The specification is good for the price point. It is acceptable, but I can't say it's excellent because it needs improvement. It needs a lume pip or a triangle on the bezel insert. It needs 200 meters of water resistance, and it needs a higher grade of movement to become excellent quality. So the value is okay, and also the quality is okay. I'm going to recommend it to you for your consideration, but bear in mind those shortcomings. So I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Bernhard H. Meyer Powermaster First Blue. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.